Hi, it's Martin and welcome to another video on my Knit365 YouTube channel. Today's video is one of my sit down and chat about things I've been up to. I guess as it's the first video in February, it's probably a monthly roundup. So let's call it that. I'm just going to adjust the tripod. Bear with me a moment. The top of my head has been cut off. There we go. That's a little bit better. There we go. There's a gap now. Welcome to my... We'll call this the January roundup video because it's now February and I can talk about all the things I got up to in January. Mostly spinning. I've got a new obsession. I have to stop it. I'm going to have to break the tie because I'm not getting any knitting done. More on that in a bit. I have done quite a lot of knitting. I am quite proud of myself. So, hi, welcome. How are you? If you are new here, thank you for giving me a little bit of your time and for stopping by. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button below as it helps me to grow my community of wonderful Knit365 folks like yourselves. Of course, if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and giving me a little bit more of your time. I'm just going to write something down on my pad because I remember there's something else I needed to tell you. And if I don't write it down now, I'll forget. So I will catch you up on all of the things I've been doing in January. I was going to say there's not a lot, so it's going to be a short video, but I have no idea. I've got a load of things by here that I'm going to talk about. I have some coffee. It's early morning on Sunday. It's just after 9 o'clock. Mark is still in bed, although he is awake. So I don't need to talk quite so quietly. There have been some videos where I've got to talk a little bit quieter because he's in bed and I've got quite a loud voice. But we don't need to do that because he is awake. So that is okay. So I hope that you've got your latest project, whatever that may be, knitting, crochet, spinning, weaving. I hope you've got something to keep you occupied as you watch along with me for the next half an hour or so as I chat about my January. So let's jump straight in with, I don't have any finished objects. Boo. Optimistically in January, I was like, I could maybe get 5 things finished. And I also did think I could, of those 5 things, 2 of them could be shawls. Now, I am very, very close to finishing one of the shawls, which you'll see shortly. The one I broke. I fixed it and I've got on. We'll talk about that in a bit. But I don't have any finished objects, but that's okay. Although I would appreciate some guidance from you folks because I don't have any finished objects, but I have got lots of finished yarn. So for those of you that have been watching the Spinuary series, I have lots of finished yarn. So I guess I do have some finished objects. We'll talk about them in a minute when we come on to spinning. But I don't have any traditional finished objects because this is a knitting and a crochet channel, always was a knitting and a crochet channel, is now with a little bit of spinning. But I finished a lot of skeins of yarn. So I guess I do have some finished objects. So if we were claiming finished objects as finished objects, then should we just start with spinning? That's going to be easier, isn't it? I don't have any finished knitted or crochet objects. Let's go with that. I did, however, stick to my, I'm not going to cast on anything new in January. So I didn't start any new projects, which I feel like I should polish the halo because how often does that happen that I don't actually start something new? So I'm very proud for not starting anything new. Unless, of course, again, you count spinning fibre as starting something new because it was a bumper fibre that then became some finished yarn. So I'm not sure. I feel like the lines have been blurred slightly now by the fact that I'm now spinning my own yarn. What I also don't have still is my completed list of, my total list of my works in progress. So I think we claimed it as like 13 or 14. at the beginning of January, I haven't had a moment to grab all of the project bags out because I couldn't get you the list because the Christmas tree was in the way. The Christmas tree's now gone, but I'm looking in the cubbies and there's definitely project bags missing. Like, I know I've got a bag with pandas on. That's not there. So there's a project in there. So I need to have some time to go around the flat and work out where I've hidden little bags to. So I still don't have the official whip. I've kind of got more than 10, less than 20. Let's just settle on that for a minute. And I'm hoping in February we will have a glut of finished objects because of my plans for Unravel, and I have got not a lot of knitting left. There's definitely going to be one finished object. I think there might be at least 3 for Unravel. So let's see. I am also going to break my no new cast on, and I'll tell you why. It's an acquisition, but it was a gift that someone very kindly sent to me, and I wanted to wait to talk about it on a video, so I'll talk about that later. So, another sip of coffee. Let's go straight into spinning then. Then we'll do knitting. There's been no crochet, but we'll there has been crochet. We'll mention it. I think you've seen it, but we'll mention it. The Toff blanket. And then we will do gifts. Because I haven't actually bought anything. I bought a fibre club that hasn't yet arrived. It's been posted. So at the time I record this, I think it arrives tomorrow. So I haven't actually got a new acquisition, which again, I feel like that's a good way to start January, right? So, spinning. I am obsessed, and I'm going to talk briefly about this because, of course, there have been, throughout January, there were the Spinuary videos. So you can go back and watch. And as I said in the last wrap-up Spinuary video from Friday, in my head, it kind of turned out much more than I expected it to be, because when I thought about blogging my progress, but I didn't think I would see that much progress in such a short space of time. I honestly expected to still be producing yarn like this a month later. And I've kind of become obsessed with it. So if we focus on spinning, I have produced I'm going to try and get these in order now. 1, 2, my skeins are so messy. I might take these to a yarn show and see if one of the dyers has got a skein winder there. It's like, can you wind them professionally for me, please? 1, 2, 3. So they were my first attempts. Then we've got 4, 5, 6. This is much more than I thought it would be. And then we've got 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. These were wound up, but I did a little photo shoot for something, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. And I unwound them to lay them out like an arty effect. I'm not sure it gave me the effect that I was looking for, but that's why they're unwound. So I just need to rewind these back up. So how many was that? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 skeins. That can't be right. Surely not. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. So I made 11 skeins of yarn in January. Someone just commented, which I've just replied to on the last video, on the Spinuary video, about how quick I am. And I don't think I'm that quick. So if you use these as an example, so these were they were between 30 and 40 grams of fibre in the art bat. So these are by Charmaine of Yarn Things. So it was, when I broke them in half, it was about 16 or 17 grams that I spun onto each bobbin, and then obviously I've 2-plied them together. It took me about an hour, so it was about half an hour per 15 grams. I have no idea whether that's fast or slow. I'm on my e-spinner, so there's no treadling. You just put it on. And my dial is on 11 o'clock. If that's any help, I think your name was Lisa, and anyone else that's spinning, I don't think I'm particularly fast, but on an e-spinner, I'm spinning on speed 11. So it was about half an hour, roughly, with the 15, 16 grams, and then probably about 20 minutes to ply that together, and then maybe another 10 minutes to niddy noddy, because I'm still have to remember where it's got to go. So these all told took me about an hour and a half per 35, 40 gram bat. I have no idea whether that's fast or slow. As I said, these that were 100 grams, like, took me a few nights. So I was spinning for no more than like 45 minutes or an hour at the beginning of the month. And I left my wheel set up on the dining table, and then just while I was cooking tea, coming back to stir something, one of the great tips I had, I don't think I covered this in Spinuary, was you can stop midway through, but where you've got the hook to bring the fibre through the orifice, you've got the little hook on there, just wind the end round. So I was doing that, and I was doing that a lot. So I would kind of stop mid-spin, wrap it around to stop it unwinding, go and stir something on the hob, come back, and then carry on. So a few nights these took me. And then, yeah, the final Spinuary video, I basically spent Friday night, I think, doing this. And then I plied it on Sunday morning. And then the rest of them these were all done on Sunday. So I don't think I'm particularly fast, but I don't know. So the only thing I'm not sure what to do with these now is how to claim them, because one thing I said I was going to do in January, I was going to count in all the yarn I bought and count out all the yarn I used, because I'm not going on a yarn ban. I think it's important to support small business, and if someone produces some fibre or some yarn or something that I really love, I would love to buy that and then to support their business. And my aim for this year is to use more than I buy. But obviously I've now bought in more yarn. So I think I'm probably just going to track these separately. So fibre that I bring in and skeins that I make, I think I'll track them that way. I love a stat and a spreadsheet. So these are all on my, these need to go on the fibre spreadsheet yet, so they don't yet have labels. So again, if you watch the Spinuary video, I haven't labelled everything up yet, but because I'm a bit extra, I got myself some Knit 365 labels. They just, you can get, I found a website that did printable post tags. So I got the little Knit 365 bear on it, and then I've just written, so it was a blend by Marina Skewer. It came out as a chunky, super chunky, 82 grams and 28 meters. And then I'm going to label them so that when I then want to go through my stash and say, oh, I know what I can do, I'm going to make a hat. I know how many meters I've got so that I can work out whether the pattern will fit. I might need to work out how to adapt the pattern, but there's a Stephen West hat pattern that I made a few years ago. And it's got a main colour, and then I did it with a self-stripe yarn. I can't remember the name of it, which is going to be useless for you. But I think something like that would be really nice, that I could hold that as a framing colour. They do go really well together. I don't know. I'm not going to use any of my handspun for a while, though, because I want to kind of sit on it and let it tell me what it wants to be. But from a spinning perspective, I've done quite a lot, which in turn has had an impact on my knitting and crochet time, because if I hadn't done so much spinning, I would have finished more knit projects, which we'll come on to in a bit. So the reason I focused on this, because I wanted to get this done for the last Spinuary video to kind of wrap up my month of spinning. But what I'm now going to do is once a week, maybe, I'll just get my wheel out. I've worked out now how I can spin sitting on the floor, and where our coffee table is in the middle, it's a long coffee table, I've worked out, Mark does know this, I've worked out how I can hide the extension lead and the pedal and cable for the wheel under the coffee table, and you can't see it, because then you can see in the corner, see where the bears are? There's the plug socket. So that's the plug socket that my spinner goes into. So now all I've got to do is, from one end of the coffee table, grab the extension lead and plug it in, grab the wheel and pull the jack out from under the other side of the coffee table. So within a minute, I can have my wheel set up and off I go. So my plan is to leave that there for a bit longer until Mark then I can see the cable when I don't think he will, it'll be fine. But I'm gonna leave that there. Everything in the flat has a place. So I'm going to leave that there for a bit longer, and then try and just spin a little once a week, because I know what I'm like. I'm very feast or famine. So I've had a really good spinning month. This could be the most amazing massive braid if I just skein it up like that. I've had a really busy spinning month, and I feel like I've learned loads. But what will usually happen then, as you folks know, I get distracted by new things, and it'll be October before I spin again. And I don't want to lose that muscle memory that I've started to create. So my plan is to just do at least one of these. I've got another 7 of, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7. I couldn't count to 12 then. Oh my word, it's early. I've got another 7 of these colours to spin up in Charmaine's fibre box. So I might try and do one a week, just to keep my hand in and that ticking over. So that's the spinning section. I'm so, like I said in the Spin Euro video, I'm really, really happy with my progress, and I try not to be very braggy. That is not necessarily in my nature. But I'm allowing myself a small brag on that one, because looking back at that first video, the frustration that I felt. And then I had and it worked, but it was obviously very thick and thin. But now to see the progress, look, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm yet going to be doing an MCAL this year, because this is still, I thought this was really fine, and this is still coming out as an Aran. So we're still way away from consistently getting thin enough. Because someone commented on one of the other videos, in order to get a fingering 4-ply yarn, you need lace weight singles. So I'm still way away from getting that, but I've made real good progress. The other thing, I'm going to keep all of these bits. And at some point, I might get some hand carders. I've had a look on eBay. They can get some on there secondhand. I might have a look for some hand carders, because like that bit of fluff, something happened with the blue, I've overspun it and it's snapped. But these bits, I can hand card them, I can make up my own little Rolags, and I can spin them into something else. So I'm going to put these in a bag. They could also be toy stuffing for the Toft. If I'm making a toy, I'm making a Toft animal or something for me personally, and I'm not giving it away. If I'm giving it away, I'll put proper toy stuffing in it. But if I know it's just one of mine for the house, like a new release from Toft or whatever, I could always use it as toy stuffing. So it absolutely will not go to waste. While we're on spinning then, let me show you off some lovely, lovely gifts that I had. So Francesca, at the beginning of the month, Francesca got in touch on Instagram and gave me a couple of tips, which were so well received. Thank you so much, Francesca, for getting in touch and sharing that with me. And actually it was Francesca that put me onto the Craftsy episode by JC Boggs Faulkner to learn about the different drafting techniques and things. So I was carrying on, and almost like a little bit of a proud pupil, whenever I'd finish a spin, I was sending the little video clips over to show my progress and little clips of my drafting. So it's been so nice to have people in my phone, and Jan, who taught me to drop spindle, I've been messaging Jan, and Josh and Arthur. There's a couple of people that got in touch on Instagram DMs. So I've kind of been sharing bits of my progress. But Francesca asked if she could send me a gift, and I was like, absolutely not needed, but if you'd like to, yeah, no worries, here's my address. And Francesca sent me a lovely package of things. So I've got, oh, there's the camera. So I've got a spinner's diz, I think it's called, that will then show me the thickness. So what I just taught, it's because it's black, it's not, I don't know if it'll necessarily show up. So you can see here, the lines on here are based on the thickness of the single, and then it tells you what you're spinning. So as I'm spinning, so for example, if I want to get a lace weight, I could stop my spin and look at my single and see if my single fits on this line. So it helps you get an idea for your thickness. And as Francesca said, the holes are diz, used for pin drafting, roving. And the groove thickness would be good for you, and the whips per inch. So that was a lovely little gift. And then what I was also then sent was I had some Blueface Leicester in these gorgeous natural colours. And this is Rambouillet. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the colours remind Francesca of Wicked, and I guess they absolutely do with the pinks and the greens. This is very Elphaba, Defying Gravity, this dark green. So I've got some lovely fibre as well. So a huge thank you to Francesca for the very lovely gifts. And yeah, more fibre to spin. So I'm going to keep going with my Charmaine box, and then I'm going to get onto this Defying Gravity-esque, but also for the lovely spinners tool. So absolutely a lovely community member getting in touch and saying, can I send you something? And as I said, absolutely, I don't expect anything. I make these videos, and I've said, if folks keep watching, I'll keep making them. But that was a lovely little gift that I received in the post. So I just wanted to show it off in the video. And then I said, say a big thank you to Francesca for being that cheerleader in my DMs all throughout January on Instagram, but also then for sending that over. So that's the spinning part done. Crochet is very quick. You've seen this in previous videos. My Toft sampler blanket, I would love to get this finished for Unravel so that I can take it to Unravel with me and do show and tell, because Toft will be exhibiting at the Unravel show. I'm just mentioning it in terms of a wrap up for January because I can't remember where I started the month. I don't think I've done a whole circle. I've definitely done this section. I've definitely done more front post, back post. So I think I may have come along this line here. And then this line here, perhaps. Or maybe I did do a whole circle. Anyway, I'm making good progress with it. So this is all using Toft yarn, most of it from my stash. I think I had to buy 4 balls just to make up the silver, I think it was. But I'm still plugging away at it. I've got, it's the sampler blanket. And I've got another 2 full rounds, and then it's finished. It's just the border. So it is a perfect one. Like, I've got a band rehearsal this afternoon. I'm playing a brass band for those of you that don't know. I've got a band rehearsal this afternoon, and I've got 45 minutes in between my sectional finishing for the cornets and then full band. So like, this is the perfect thing to be able to take with me and just put some rows onto it. So I will keep plugging away at it. I've done a little bit on it throughout January. But in my using more yarn than I buy in, I haven't claimed this because obviously I haven't finished it. I'm going to claim the yarn out. I will weigh the finished things, and then I can see how much yarn I've finished in a project. So this is going to be a good one because this will be quite heavy, I hope. So I'll hopefully be able to claim a lot of yarn used when I get that done. So that's crochet, and that was it. Very, very small and minimal. And then knitting. So again, I have 2 projects to show you. You won't be surprised to see either of them. So there is my exploration station. which is Using Wool by Anton of the Raw Wool Company. And I started this on New Year's Day. So I've done quite a lot of knitting on this in January. If I think this was absolutely a January project, maybe New Year's Eve I started it. But it's using the weekly advent that I had from Anton. So it's all natural colours, which I think just works so well together. So I've done section 1, which is these wedges. I've also then done section 2, which is the brioche. So that's the right side of the brioche, and that's the wrong side of the brioche. And then I've just started section 3 in the dark colour, so the darkest brown. You can't really see the pattern yet. If I'm honest, I'm not sure what the pattern is going to look like. It's a knit one, purl one. I think it's like knit one, purl one, then you knit a row, then you purl one, knit one. I haven't done enough of it yet to have memorised the pattern. And I just dropped the ball on the floor, bear with. So I hoped that I would, my aim is to still have this finished for Unravel. As I said, I'm starting section 3. I think off the top of my head there are only 4 sections on this exploration station. This was one of the mystery knit alongs. So I think this was section 1, week 1, week 2, week 3, and then week 4 is the final border, I think. So I've still got a bit of knitting to go if I'm going to get this done. Unravel is in 2 weeks. It's not looking likely, but all I can do is knit. Every waking hour is do some knitting and make as much progress as I can. But I can't tell you, it's so soft. If you are a merino person and you are all about the hand dye from indie dyers, you may not like this because it's not woolly, but it is proper. I think it's really soft. I don't have any sensitivity at all. I could absolutely have this as a pillow and I'd have a lovely night's sleep. But you can absolutely tell the difference between this being a natural wool and this being the merino kind of superwash. But I know that this is going to be such a great shawl. It's, I didn't do it to get gauge, but I'm on a 4mm needle because the wool itself, so if I may have done this previously. So they're both 4-ply, but you can see that the Raw Wool Company wool is ever so slightly thicker than this hand dye from the Little Grey Girl. So I went up a needle size than I would use, 2 needle sizes. So I usually do my West Knit shawls on a 3.5, but I've done this one on a 4. So it's a slightly bigger shawl as well. It's already going to be a big shawl. So I can't wait to get back to this, even though it's a knit one, purl one. And I know it's not going to be quick to do, but I think once I've done section 3, the rest of it will hopefully grow quite quickly. It's living in this Hide and Hammer bag from New, the lovely New from Hide and Hammer, rainbow hand dyed. Nearly dropped it. So I'm really hoping that I can get that finished in time for Unravel. T-minus 2 weeks. To my mind, if it's finished and not blocked, it's finished. As long as it's off the needles. Like, I've still not blocked my mystery knit along from last year, my Wicked one. I keep wearing it out. It's not blocked yet. I'm fine with that. It's big enough already. So I'd like to get that finished. The other thing then that I have been knitting on, bear with, the wool is caught around the tripod. The other thing I have been knitting on then is my Hyber knit along. So I started this on Christmas Day, but this has taken most of my knitting time. Oh, it hasn't taken most of my knitting time because I did that exploration station. Between the two of these have been the things I knitted on the most. And I am so close to finishing it. So it's on 100cm cable. The exploration station is on 2 100 meters, which is how I can stretch it out slightly. This is way too bunched now. I do have stitch stoppers on. For those of you that hate it when I'm flinging my projects around and showing you, and I've just got live needles, and I know people comment and they're like, what are you doing? You're going to lose stitches. And then invariably, I lose stitches. They are on needle stoppers. These were pumpkin spice latte ones by Gemma of The Little Grey Girl to go with the project. So this is the Hibernate Along. So this is another West Knit shawl. And this was this year's Hibernate Along. This is Glow Hair Frost, I think it's called. And throughout January, I've been knitting on this. So I'm using the Weekly Advent by Gemma of The Little Grey Girl. So it had 5 colours. So if I just go from the centre to show you slowly. So there is section 1, which was this first stitch in the apricot. And then we blended into this like pinky colour, which is section 2 with these little flower tips. Then we blended the kind of the mesh effect with all the yarn overs into this kind of lace and cable section. And you can see the cables there and into the lace. Then we blended into just a lace section on its own. And then I've blended into the 5th colour, which is the final border. Now, I talked about this, I think, at the beginning of last week's video. I don't know what I had done, and I made a mistake, which I have now fixed, and I haven't fudged it, I've actually fixed it, so I'm quite happy with that. But I was about halfway through this purple section, and when I got to the end, I should have had 8 stitches left, and I had 10 stitches left. And I was like, oh my God, what have I done? And I was about halfway up here. And I didn't know what I'd done. So I undid the row, counted all my stitches, and I had 2 stitches too many. Now, with hindsight, what I think I did is I don't print out patterns. I use them on my iPad. I've got an Apple Pencil that I cross out on the PDF. And I think what I had done is I'd finished a row, because I think if I remember rightly, you follow the lace pattern and then on the right side. So there's yarn overs and decreases. On the way back, it's just a purl row. And I think what I had done is I'd done the purl row, but I hadn't crossed it off. Is that what I did? I basically, though, the next time I went, I started the row. Yes, that was right. I hadn't crossed off. And instead of crossing off 1 row at a time, I'd cross off 2 rows together. So I've done the knit and the purl, crossed them both off. And what I hadn't done is I hadn't crossed off the pattern, but I thought in my head there was a confusion with the pattern anyway. And basically I started on the next row, and then when I did something, I ended up with an extra, but I managed to work it out, because what I did, which I'm quite proud of, I managed to, let me see if I can put an envelope behind so you can see the white. What I managed to do was learn how to read my lace. Does that help? Kind of. So what I can see here is you've got this lace pattern that comes in a V, and then you kind of create this V stitch in the middle. What I've done is, it was this row here. This stitch here was coming here. So I'd somehow got out of alignment. So what I did was I tried to read the pattern a few rows ahead, and then I realized that what I was doing, based on the stitches, I was stacking the yarn overs so that I had this shape here, which then made me realize that that was in the wrong place, because that was coming here, this yarn over, and it needed to be there. So I was able to then realize what had happened. I could then count back on that row, and I realized at the beginning of the row, I had, weirdly, 2 extra yarn overs. I think there was a yarn over wrong in the beginning, and then there was 1 wrong around by here. But by learning to read my stitch, I could then work out what I'd done wrong. So last week I spent 2 hours Saturday morning sitting down and just trying to work out what had happened. And that's partly why there was no video on Monday, because I didn't have anything to talk about. Because all I'd done all week, so I messed it up the Tuesday or the Wednesday. And I was like, oh no, what am I gonna? And I didn't have time because work has just been really, really busy. I didn't have the headspace all the time to try and work it out. So that was the weekend's task. And then I spent Saturday, a couple of hours trying to fix this. Then we were out Saturday evening. And then Sunday was all about the spinning to do the Spinuary video. And I just didn't have anything to talk about. So that's why there was no video last Monday. But from tragedy becomes success. I finished the lace pattern. I managed to get it back on track. So that section's finished. And then I've faded the colours into colour 5. And then I've started the border. So I am exactly halfway through the border. So I think it's long now. We're up to nearly 600 stitches. You can see it's way too long for the cable for me to stretch it out. I know Stephen likes to design patterns. Love Stephen West as we do. He loves a big shawl. But I feel like this is a big one. I just love, the colours are not me. They're not colours that I would naturally choose. And that's partly why I love the fact of it's an advent, but actually I think the colours work so well together on a project like this. So it's going to be a big shawl, and as I said, I'm halfway through the border. So I think based on it being about an hour to do a knit and a purl row, you know, I'm obsessed with knits. I've got to do a knit and a purl. I can't be stopping halfway through. And just do the knit, then go out. No. So I think I've got about 6 hours of knitting left. So I've got 3 hours before I need to go out tonight, out to band, and then I'll have some time this evening. So I'm not going to finish this today, but I can get real close to just having a couple of rows left to go. And what I think I'm going to do, because I can bind off in the hotel before Unravel, Gemma's going to be at Unravel. So I want to be able to take this for show and tell. And Anton's going to be at Unravel, so I want to take that for show and tell. So what I think I'm going to do is get the border finished, but leave it on the needle, so I won't do the bind off, because the bind off won't take me that long. It'll take me an evening. But rather than spending an evening doing the bind off, I'm going to then go straight onto Anton's shawl. And then I'll do the bind off, like I said, worst case scenario, in the hotel on Friday night, I can bind it off and then it's done. But I'm so nearly close. So nearly close. I'm nearly done. And I love it. So if you've been knitting on Hyper Knit Along this year, did you join in? Let me know in the comments below. How has yours gone? I know lots of you have been joining in and doing it. I wasn't a massive lace knitter beforehand, but I've actually quite enjoyed doing this. And the cable section, I did cabling without a cable needle, which Stephen's got a tutorial on how to do that when you take the stitches off, and yeah, so go and watch that if you're interested. So I'm so close, so close. I'm going to try and get it done today. My stretch target, it's nearly 10 o'clock. I'm going to finish this video shortly. And I'm going to go and join Mark. We'll watch some telly. I don't have to go out until 12:30. So I've got at least 2 hours of knitting before I need to get ready. And then, yeah, I'll be home by 6. Fingers crossed for next week's video, there will be a finished shawl. Positive vibes, please. We can do this. Come on, we've got it. And then the other thing I wanted to share, again, it's another gift. And I don't get very many gifts. And I've said before, I absolutely don't expect to have gifts from folks. But Michelle from Colorado got in touch with me over Christmas. And again, I wanted to wait. I didn't want to talk about this in January because I'm not starting projects in January. January is the no more projects. February, I can start a new project maybe. So I wanted to talk about this in February because then I can show it off and then I can start the project. So Michelle got in touch with me. If you watch throughout Vlogmas, you'll know that I started a pair of Advent socks, which were meant to be, or which were knit a stripe a day. As I was working through them, they just weren't my personal style or my personal taste. I didn't like the way that the colours were playing together. So I actually sold them and I destashed it. Someone else has made the project. They're very happy with the project, which is great. Michelle got in touch and said that she had a sock advent from a few years ago that she'd purchased and just wasn't then going to become a big sock knitter. And it sat in her stash since 2022 and she had no use for it. And would I like it so that I could then knit my stripe a day and I could have my my daily advent. And Michelle very kindly gifted that to me and it was sent across from the US. And I don't know what's in it and I'm not going to open it and you'll see why. So it's got a lovely mini that came with it, this lovely little lilac colour. Is that lilac? It's a purple, like a lavender. I'm not very good with colour names. I'd be rubbish with Joseph's coat. I can sing you the song. Which colour was which? Not sure. But that's like a deepy purple colour in real life. And the advent is by Woolens and Nosh. And it comes in this bag. Now, the only thing I can tell you is the first colour is red. And what I love about this advent is the yarn is already wound into two 50-gram balls. And it's in a bag with a popper. Now, of course, I could just open the bag and we could all see. But where's the fun in that, right? The idea of the mystery advent that I really loved was seeing how the stripes would come together throughout the month. So it's just the greatest gift, Michelle. Thank you so, so much. I said, very generous of you to be able to gift it to me. So what I am going to start, it's the 2nd of February now. I want to finish my hybrid knit along. So I'm not going to start it, like I didn't start it on the 1st of February, but maybe next weekend, once I've made a bit of progress on these two shawls, because I feel like they're deadline knits now, I'm going to start in February working on the Woolen and Nosh socks. And then I will do it as I intended throughout December, and I will knit a stripe a day. So I know that I can just pull on this, knit, and then when the colour changes, I'll just stop. So there will be some progress in February on my Woolen and Nosh advent socks. And as I said, I wanted to just wait until I could film and I could show it off so that I could then show you the gift that I had that was very, very lovely from Michelle. And then I could start the project in the same month. So I'm going to start a new cast on this month and I'm going to see. So I maybe try and knit a pair of socks in a month. It won't be a calendar month. So I'm not going to knit them in February, but it will be mid-Feb to mid-March, for example. Oh, my birthday's in early March. So maybe I could knit them. If I start them this week, I could have a pair of socks on my birthday. I could gift myself some socks. So thank you very much, Michelle, for that really lovely gift. And yeah, I think that is it. At the beginning of January, notification. I film everything on my phone. So at the beginning of January, I had another 3 projects that I wanted to make some progress on. There was another sock, which I will get some work done on shortly. And then there was a cardigan for my niece. I'm looking over there. What was the other one? Oh, and my crochet blanket. So 2 shawls, a blanket, a pair of socks and a cardigan. I've not touched the sock or the cardigan because I wanted to finish the shawls and I've become a spinner. So I said, spinning is going to take a back burner now in February. I will do a little bit of spinning each week just to keep that muscle memory going. But I'm absolutely not going to be spinning as much in February because I do want to make some knitting progress. New cast-ons, though, I think I'm going to start that pair of socks because it's a really lovely gift from Michelle, but I don't think I'm going to start any new cast-ons yet. Certainly not until after Unravel, because up to Unravel is all about the shawls. Which, mentioning Unravel, that is in 2 weekends' time. It's a lot of knitting to do in 2 weeks. If you are out and about or you are around, the Unravel Festival is on the 14th, 15th and 16th. I think that's the Friday. It's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think it's the 14th of February is the Friday. That is in Farnham, in the Farnham Maltons. So I'll be there on Saturday. Mark and I will be there Sunday. I won't be there on the Friday. I have something to do at work. So we're going to travel up Friday night. So if anyone is around at Unravel, please come and say hi. I'll pop the details below where you can get tickets. So that's Unravel, which is coming up in February. And the other one I wanted to mention, again, I'll put some details below. There's a new yarn show that's been set up in Bristol. called The Big Flock. Now this is by Claire and John of Bird Street Yarns. They run something called Little Flock, which is like a little pop-up makers market. But they're now running their own yarn show. So it's called The Big Flock, and it's going to be 17th and 18th of May. Again, I'll pop the details to the website below. So that's going to have loads and loads of vendors there that are predominantly, I think, on their application, they ask for people who would be ideally based in and around the Southwest. But again, check the website out to see all the exhibitors. And if you are around that weekend, of course, come from far and wide. But absolutely, if you're in the Southwest and it's easy to get to Bristol, it would be great to see you there. I will be there. And excitingly, I'm going to be teaching a beginner's YouTube class on the Saturday and the Sunday. It's an hour's class. How to get started on YouTube. All the things I wished I knew when I started that I didn't have anyone to ask at that time. Very much in the banner of, as Hannah says from Corner of Craft, it's community, not competition. And there are things about getting started, set up, engaging content, all that kind of stuff. So I'm running a class. It's something I've thought about for a while, about how do I, when folks ask me, they message me directly, or when I'm at shows, how I got started, hints and tips. And it's kind of something that I have gathered all this knowledge. I'm not the biggest YouTuber. We have 10,000 people here. That's not a small amount of people, but there are people with bigger channels. So I know what works for me and would really love to be able to share that with other folks who are interested in starting their own YouTube channel. About obviously the positioning for the yarn show is a crafting YouTube channel, but absolutely the principles would apply to any craft or any topic really. So if you are in and around the Southwest and you've thought about understanding more about YouTube and creating videos and content, and you are around and you want to come and do that class again, you'll find the details for the workshops, along with loads of other great classes about ladder back jacquard and spinning on a drop spindle. There's loads and loads of classes, as you would expect from yarn shows. And then something a little bit different for me about the beginner's guide to YouTube. From scheme to screen. I'm quite happy with that name, if I'm honest. It made me smile when I came up with it. So yeah, again, if you're around for the Big Flock for the actual show itself or for the workshop, then it would be great to see any of you there. And breathe. I think that's the end of the video. That is the end of the parish notices. Thanks to Michelle. Thanks to Francesca. Big Flock, Unravel. All the fibre. Nearly finished all. Coffee's gone cold. There we go. There's the summary. So actually, there was a bit more content than I was expecting. So I was like, I just said to Martin, all right, I'm going to go and record a quick podcast. It'll be like 20 minutes. I got nothing to talk about. And as usual, I stand in front of the camera and then the verbal diarrhea comes. So thank you very much. If you're still here, thanks. We haven't done a thumbnail yet, have we? Oh, let's do a thumbnail of Gemma's. Should we do a thumbnail of Gemma's shawl? The worst bit, which will be in my workshop, is creating an engaging thumbnail. It's the one thing I struggle with. That could be it, maybe. Or do something funny. Because you've got to stand far enough back from the camera, see, to have the frame on the bottom. So yeah, there we go. That was my January roundup. I also can't stand still. Can you tell? I know, I'm sorry, I've been moving. Should we dance? I don't know now. Now I've gone delirious. Right, so I'm going to go because I need to go and do some stuff on this shawl. The shawl's not going to get finished by Unravel, is it? Place your bets in the comments below. Am I going to get 2 shawls and a blanket and a sock done for Unravel? There will be 1 shawl for definite, because by hook or by crook, this is getting finished. There'll be definitely 1. The sock, probably, because it's quite far advanced already. The blanket, probably not. The other shawl, I'd love to get it finished. So answer on a postcard below. I've got 2 weeks. You know I love a challenge, right? It's all fun. It's all fun and games. If it doesn't get finished, I can still take it to show Anton for show and tell. as a unfinished object. Anton is also going to be at the big flock in May. So if I don't get it finished for Unravel, he can see the finished shawl in May. We'll see. You know I love a challenge, and I love you lot. And thank you very much for being here and watching. And as I said a little bit earlier, as long as you keep watching the videos, I'll keep making them. If you are interested in the Spinuary content, please head back, or the spinning content from today, and you haven't yet watched the Spinuary series, please go back and do that. There was an offer from Craftsy on the last video. I don't do a lot of offers, giveaways, sponsorships. To me, it's very much about the products and the things that I love. So I talk about the yarns that I love to use. On the occasion in the past, I've made recommendations for things that someone has asked me to talk about, but it would only be if I thought it was of benefit to the wider community. This is absolutely not going to be a regularly sponsored podcast. It's very important to me to stay true to how I have set this up and developed it. But there was a relevant offer from Craftsy, because at the beginning of the month I paid for the subscription and I used it, and then as it happened they got in touch and said, would you like a giveaway for your channel? So that's where that sponsored video came from. So there is an offer from Craftsy. If you are interested, go back and check out the episode, last week's episode. But no fear, this is not going to become a commercialized channel by any stretch of imaginations. I'm here about sharing what I get up to and the products that spark joy in me, and how you folks will hopefully get some joy as well. So there we go. I'm going to wrap this video up now. I'm going to go and do some knitting. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful week. I'll be back next week when it'll be the week before Unravel. So hopefully I will have some finished objects to show you. We'll see. Hope that you are all keeping well. Have a wonderful week. And until we speak again, happy crafting.